Hello.
Hello, Terry.
How are you?
I'm just great. Nice to see you.
Well, in a manner of speaking, I guess you can't really see me, just hear me.
Well, I see you on the viewer.
Well, I see you. So it works. Anyway, it works out one way or the other. It works out fine.
3, 2.
Let me start off asking you about this Hollywood on Hollywood thing. I watched a little bit of it. I couldn't watch it all, but I noticed one thing is that Ron Howard calls Singing in the Rain maybe the best movie ever made in Hollywood about movies. Do you agree with that?
Well, if Ron said it, I mean, you know, he's the youth of America and the great director. Oh, I think Singing in the Rain is a great film, and it's certainly not because of me, so I can say that without any conceit. Gene Kelly did it, Donald O'Connor, Adolph Comden, Betty Green, and not me. I was only 18 years old, so I was very lucky to be in that movie, and it taught me a lot how to keep up with Gene and Donald, first of all. Was a tremendous challenge, and from learning how to work that hard, I still lasted all these years in show business.
Well, I didn't realize you were only 18 when you made that. That must have been some experience. What was that like for you?
Scary. I never danced.
Never before that?
No.
Well, you learned quickly, didn't you?
Well, I think you either learned or you got kicked out of the movie. I mean, I was lucky enough to come through. You know, when I look back, I don't know really how I did that at that age, you know, that young and that inexperienced. It really took a lot of courage, guts, whatever you want to call it. I guess I prayed a lot, and I had great teachers, but I did work really hard. I don't know how I did that at that young age. I had a lot of courage.
You know, we've talked to a lot of stars about whether they were ever starstruck themselves. It seemed like that might be an instance where you might have been, being only 18. Have you ever worked with anyone, met anyone where you were starstruck?
Oh, Fred Astaire. I was told, and Clark Gable. I first met Clark Gable when I walked on the lot, and he was in a pinstripe suit and he had a little watch fob, and they introduced me to him, and I was the youngest player on the lot, and he looked down at me and he said, "I sure wish you lots of luck, baby." Then he chucked my little chin, you know, I almost fainted.
Wow.
I went, I didn't say anything. I just blubbered around. Those were great years, you know. I mean, everywhere you looked was Fred Astaire, was Greer Garson, was Katharine Hepburn, it was June Allison, it was Ann Miller, it was stars everywhere. Eating in the Commissary, Lena Horne, Harry Belafonte. So it was quite an exciting time. Esther Williams, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It was a very fabulous era. The 50s, 60s, well, the 40s, 50s were the best, of course.
Do you think that this program gives us kind of a sense of what that was like, even though obviously this is fantasy because it's movies about movies, but do we get a sense of what Hollywood was like in those days?
Oh, I think it does. It takes you back. It takes you inside, and that's the great movies, and it shows you the happy side, the dark side. I think they've done a really wonderful job. It's very well produced, and there are other shows, documentary kind of shows, but this one is more special. I think it really takes you through a lot of different gamuts, and it takes your emotions to a lot of different places. Films perhaps you haven't seen, A Star is Born and Sullivan's Travels and Hollywood Canteen. Most of us have seen that, but that's the light side of it. You know, I used to go to USO in Hollywood and Jitterbug with the boys in the Korean War, and that Hollywood Canteen showed Hollywood doing the war. It's really fun, and you should see it if they send it to you. But for all the folks watching, it'll be on Monday, August 16th. So I hope everybody watches. It's well worthwhile. It'll take you out of your glooms.
Well, how has Hollywood changed since those days? Or is there time enough to even explain that?
Yeah, I would say, have you got 2 hours? Well, totally. There are no films. There are no studios anymore. There are producers that rent the studios, so you don't have the star system. So filmmaking is entirely different than it ever was, and if you'll notice, most of the films are being made by performers, comics, actors, because they can't get the product. So they're out of desperation. They have to go and write it themselves and hire the people to write their own product, and then they become the star and the producer, so they become all powerful. In the old days, you had a floor of producers, a floor of directors, a floor of writers. Everybody worked together and created for the actor. So the actor worked from age maybe 18 or 12 years old until 45. And today, an actor's lucky if they make a picture a year, and then they have to have it written and produced. Wouldn't you say that's a change?
Yes, I'd say that's a big change. I'd also
And I said that real fast.
Yes, very quickly. It also seems to me that the way Hollywood is portrayed in the media and covered by the media, for instance, there's this current Hollywood sex scandal deal going with the Hollywood Madam or whatever they're calling it. Every time I turn on the news, I'm seeing this. Is this the same kind of things happen in the old days, but they just didn't get covered as much?
Yeah, there's people want to talk about any kind of scandal, and this young lady, this happened to be somebody that got caught or whatever, and I don't care much about it. I really am busy. I really haven't heard about it. I've been in Vegas. I just did my new hotel there in my motion picture museum, and I'm just opening there in Las Vegas with my own Hollywood, all the memorabilia, and I actually hadn't heard about Miss Heidi. So
Well,
I didn't hear about it, and I don't really care.
Well,
And,
I think a lot of
after Miss
people
Heidi,
agree.
It'll be Miss Bambi, and
Yeah, that's right.
You know.
Tell me about this museum and this hotel that you're opening. I heard you talking a moment ago to the person that was before me.
well, it's something I've had a dream of since 1970 when MGM had the first auction. I just could see our whole history going right out of the United States. So I started collecting, and now I have my collection all in one place. It's on Convention Center Drive in Las Vegas. I'm very excited, of course, because it's been my dream since the 70s, and I didn't die before I got it done. That's what's so thrilling. And I didn't have to sell it. So all the stuff, all the greats, Marie Antoinette and the Conquest and Camille and Mutiny on the Bounty and all the Gigi and all the great songs, Julie Andrews, Sound of Music, Hello Dolly. It goes on and on. They'll all be in the museum. That'll be open in October, but my theater opens Labor Day weekend. I'll be there with a big show. And my brand new theater that seats 500 people. So it's been a dream of mine. I've been in the business 44 years, and so finally this one last dream has come true for me.
44 years, this is going to be difficult to answer, but I'll ask you anyway. Was there a single highlight of all those years?
Well, right now, this is my highlight. And my other highlight was when I opened on Broadway, I'd say, in a play, Irene, nominated for a Tony, and The Unsinkable Molly Brown, when I was nominated for that picture. I'd say those few highlights. And my children.
Well, we're out of time. I appreciate you talking to me. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank
Watch
you.
Hollywood on Hollywood now, and it's August 16th on Monday.
We'll be glued to the picture.
It's a good show.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, honey.